Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, only to find someone, or something, standing at the foot of your bed watching you. What if I told you that across history, people have reported real encounters with terrifying creatures that match the description of vampires? Some lived to tell their stories. Others vanished without a trace. Let's dive into the 10 most chilling vampire encounters ever recorded. Number 10. The disappearance of the Serbian village. In 1725, an entire village in Serbia was gripped with unspeakable terror. Farmers and their families started vanishing one by one. At first, the villagers thought it was wolves. But when bodies were found drained of blood, with strange bite marks on their necks, panic set in. The townspeople whispered a name in fear: Peter Plagojevich, a man who had died just 9 days earlier. His wife swore that he returned home that very night, his eyes glowing red as he stood over their bed. She fled, but others weren't so lucky. A search party dug up Peter's grave, and what they found made them gasp in horror. His body was perfectly preserved, his nails and hair still growing, his lips stained deep red. When they drove a wooden stake through his heart, something terrifying happened. He let out a blood-curdling scream. But here's the twist. The disappearances didn't stop. Was Peter really the monster? Or was something far worse lurking in the shadows? Number 9. The Night Stalker of London. In 1892, London was haunted by something even deadlier than Jack the Ripper. A series of attacks targeted young women, who were found unconscious with tiny puncture wounds on their necks. Their bodies were anemic, drained of blood, yet there were no signs of struggle. One woman, Margaret Riley, survived to tell her horrifying story. She woke up in her room, paralyzed, unable to scream. A tall, shadowy figure with piercing eyes loomed over her. She felt an icy pain in her neck before blacking out. The police were baffled. Some believed it was a deranged aristocrat obsessed with vampire lore, but others whispered something far darker. A being that couldn't be caught, that left no footprints. And here's the chilling part. The attack stopped suddenly, but only after Margaret mysteriously disappeared. To this day, no one knows what really happened to her, or if the creature is still out there. Number 8. The Shadows of Mexico City. A late-night taxi driver in Mexico City picked up a strange passenger one evening. A woman dressed in old-fashioned black clothing stepped into his cab, speaking in a soft, whispery voice. She directed him toward an abandoned graveyard. As they neared the destination, the driver glanced at his rearview mirror, and his heart nearly stopped. The woman's reflection was not there. Panicking, he slammed on the brakes and turned around. She was still sitting there, staring at him, but her eyes were pure black. She slowly opened her mouth, and inside, instead of teeth, were long, needle-like fangs. The driver bolted from the car, but when he looked back, she was gone. Only a faint whisper echoed in the night. "You took too long." The car was later found abandoned, its seats soaked in something dark. The driver was never seen again. Number 7. The Vanishing Corpse of New Orleans. In 1872, a wealthy sugar plantation owner named Jacques Saint-Germain threw lavish parties in New Orleans. He was charming, elegant, and oddly ageless. But his guests noticed something disturbing. He never ate food. One night, a woman leapt from his balcony, screaming in terror, her clothes soaked in blood. She claimed Jacques had bitten her, his teeth like razors. The police stormed his mansion, but he was gone. Inside, they found something far more terrifying: wine bottles filled with human blood. But here's the real mystery. Witnesses claim to have seen a man who looked exactly like Jacques roaming the streets 100 years later. Still young, still watching. What if he never died at all? Number 6. The Underground Horrors of Romania. A team of cave explorers entered a deep, hidden cavern in Romania, only to stumble upon something horrifying. Bones. Piles of them. Human. Animal. Unidentified. As they ventured deeper, their torches flickered, and a foul stench filled the air. Then they heard it. A low, guttural growl. One of the explorers screamed and ran back toward the entrance. The others followed, but one man, Marcus Iliescu, tripped and fell. His teammates turned back just in time to see a tall, skeletal figure emerge from the shadows, its mouth dripping red. Marcus was never found. And the cavern? The government sealed it shut with cement. But the real question is, why? What were they hiding? Before we get to the final 5, I have to ask, do you believe in vampires yet? If these stories have you hooked, you won't believe what's coming next. Please subscribe, because hitting your subscribe button can give me new motivation to work harder and succeed. Now, let's move on. The next 5 will haunt you forever. Number 5. The Russian Blood Experiment. A Nightmare. Unleashed Soviet Russia, 1943. Deep in a classified underground lab, scientists conducted a horrifying experiment. Their goal? To test a serum that could regenerate blood cells indefinitely, potentially making a human body nearly immortal. But something went terribly wrong. Their test subject, a captured prisoner, was injected and monitored. At first, nothing happened. But within 48 hours, his breathing slowed unnaturally, his skin turned deathly pale, and his pupils expanded until his eyes were pure black. Then he stopped blinking. By the 3rd day, his nails had elongated into claws, and his teeth sharpened without explanation. He started whispering in a language lost to history, one eerily similar to medieval vampire folklore. Then, without warning, his veins darkened and started moving, like something inside was crawling through them. He stood completely still for hours, then suddenly lunged at the reinforced glass, cracking it with inhuman strength. Security rushed in. The man was gone. The room was locked, and no exits were open. Yet he had vanished without a trace. Soviet officials erased every document about the experiment. But to this day, locals in Siberia whisper about a tall, pale figure with black veins, watching from the forests. Number 4. The Serbian Farmer's Visitor. A 300-year-old nightmare. In 1725, a Serbian farmer named Petar Plogojevic died suddenly, but his story didn't end there. 9 days later, his wife and son claimed they saw him standing in their doorway, pale, cold, and hungry. Terrified, the villagers buried his body deeper. But the next morning, his wife was found dead in bed, completely drained of blood. Others began falling mysteriously ill, claiming to have seen Petar standing over them at night. The panic escalated until the town dug up his grave. What they found chilled them to the bone. His body was completely intact, no decay, no stiffness. His nails and hair had grown, and fresh blood dripped from his mouth. A priest performed an exorcism, but the villagers weren't taking chances. They drove a wooden stake through his chest. The moment it pierced his heart, a horrifying scream erupted from his corpse, and fresh blood gushed from the wound, like he had just fed. Since that night, Serbia has never stopped whispering about Petar, the first officially recorded vampire. Number 3. The Mexican Cave Monster, a creature that shouldn't exist. In 1989, a group of spelunkers ventured into a deep, unexplored cave in the Mexican countryside, searching for ancient artifacts. What they found instead was a nightmare beyond explanation. Deep inside, they discovered a pile of bones, both animal and human. Some were ancient, but others looked shockingly fresh. Then one of them found strange scratch marks on the cave walls, forming symbols that no known civilization had ever used. Then the stench of rotting flesh filled the air. One of them pointed his flashlight deeper into the tunnel, and everyone froze. At the edge of the light stood a tall, gaunt figure with pale, leathery skin stretched tight over its bones. Its eyes glowed red for a split second before it vanished into the darkness. Panicked, the group tried to escape, but suddenly a low growl echoed from all around them. One by one, their flashlights started flickering, then failed. In the pitch black, they could hear shuffling footsteps, getting closer. Somehow they made it out alive, but their cameras and equipment were destroyed. Locals say the spelunkers had aged rapidly after the incident, their hair turning white within weeks. Even today, that cave remains untouched because those who enter don't always return. Number 2. The 700-year-old coffin that should have stayed closed in 2011. Archaeologists in Bulgaria unearthed a 700-year-old tomb. Inside, they found a skeleton, but it was unlike anything they had seen before. A rusted iron stake was pierced through its heart, and its mouth was stuffed with bricks. Ancient legends say this was the only way to stop a vampire from rising. The lead scientist, Dr. Stefan Petrov, laughed off the superstition and removed the stake. Big mistake. Within days, Dr. Petrov fell violently ill. His assistant found him in his office, rambling about someone watching him. That night, security cameras caught a shadow moving in the lab, but no one was there. Then Dr. Petrov vanished. His apartment was empty, except for one chilling clue. His shoes were left by the door, as if he had walked out willingly, but he was never seen again. Number 1. The village that vanished. Overnight. Our number 1 most terrifying vampire encounter is also the most unexplained. In 1954, a small village in Brazil called Serra Negra was home to about 600 people. But one morning, a traveling merchant arrived to find something horrifying. The entire village was gone. Houses were untouched. Food was still on the tables. Even pets remained behind. But every human being had vanished without a trace. The merchant ran to the church, and that's when he saw it. On the front door, a message was carved deep into the wood. It read, "We took too long. He came for us." To this day, the village remains abandoned. No bodies were ever found. And the scariest part? The same message was found in another village, 400 miles away. Now I have to ask you, do you still think vampires are just myths? These stories are too chilling to ignore. If this video terrified you, make sure to subscribe right now so you never miss another mind-blowing countdown. And tell me in the comments, which story creeped you out the most? Or, if you know of any other terrifying vampire encounters, drop them below. Also, let me know what top 10 list I should do next. Until next time, keep your windows locked.